Welcome back to Central Ontario. It's a big day today. We got a lot of snow over the last couple of days. About -14 out here, -14 Celsius. And we've got enough snow today, and I think we've gone through enough cold weather that I'm actually going to give the snowblower a try for the very first time on the tractor. Got a base. I think the ground is frozen enough. Just to give you a little context, if you haven't been watching the channel, my driveway is about 1.25 kilometers long, so just under a mile. Through the forest. It winds and weaves, lots of hills and two really big steep hills. So it's dirt and gravel primarily, and so I needed to make sure that I had at least the first few inches, or at least the main ground layer frozen before I took the skid shoes up there, because otherwise I'm pretty sure I'd be digging in a lot. A couple of people asked why I didn't just get a snow blade, or why I didn't buy a blade for my ATV, but one, it's a long driveway, and two, plowing doesn't work very well. And I'll explain why. We, unlike normal driveways, when it's really long and hilly and windy, and it cuts right through the forest, so I'm tree lined all the way down. So what's happened in previous years is you take a plow down the driveway, and you know, the first time you plow it, you push the snow aside on the right and the left hand side, and there's nowhere else for the snow to go except for the sides, because it's tree lined all the way down, so you can't push the snow out anywhere. And then of course, you know, you go down and you plow a second time, a third time, and as you go forward, as you go through the winter, the driveway gets thinner and narrower all the way through until you get into about the mid to late January, and I could barely get enough room plowed out to get the truck through, because you can't push the snow anywhere, and it just keeps piling and slowly getting narrower as you go through the season. So the nice thing about the blower is I'm going to be able to take it, blow it out into the forest, clear the driveway, and keep it wide enough to be able to pass through there for the rest of the season, or at least that's my plan. Kubota made what looked like a really nice snow blade. It was hydraulic, and I've got a third function valve, which is great because it allows me to manage the hydraulics, because it angles left and right. And really nice looking unit. It was a quick connect, so I could have just left it on the loader and pushed the snow, but then I'd end up at points through the winter time, I'd probably have to put the bucket back on the tractor and then spend several hours trying to lift, you know, dig and lift the snow and push it back a few feet into the forest floor. So I'm hoping that the snowblower is going to do the trick. I've got a back blade as well, as you know, because it's going to help me with grading in the summer, as well as if there's areas or times I could just use the blade to clear snow, I'll use that. But we've got a nice day today. It's nice and sunny. It's beautiful up here. It's cold, but it's beautiful. So I'm going to fire it up, get ready to go, and hopefully you'll join me for the ride. It's the first time I'm going to plow this thing out, so we'll see how she works. Okay, and just remember, this is my first tractor, as you probably know, and it's the first time I'm using the snowblower, so might be a few bloopers along the way, but we'll do our best. Anyways, thanks very much. We'll see you up the driveway. Well, we made the first pass, my first time, and you could tell I learned a few things. One, if you're in four-wheel drive going up the hills, it's great, but if you're in four-wheel drive and you're trying to take tight turns, I find the front end slides and it moves along with the snowblower, so it's a lot more difficult, which surprises me. I thought four-wheel drive it would dig right in, but you put it in two-wheel drive and you have no problem taking the turns through the road. As soon as you put it in four-wheel drive and you're pushing snow and you're starting to take a bend, the tractor will continue to go forward with the snowblower. Tried one of the big hills you might have seen back there. I had it in two-wheel drive still, and I got about part way up, and sure enough, she started spinning in the snow. So I just, slowed her down, put it in four-wheel, and bit right in and took me right up the hill blowing snow. So that was pretty cool. The snowblower, I've got a lot to learn because my driveway, as I mentioned, it's gravel and dirt, very bumpy, and you can put it in float in some of the areas, and it floats along just fine. But as soon as you start to go through, I guess the driveway starts to lift and raise, you need to pop it back out of float and lift it up manually, because otherwise it starts to dig in, and you can tell, if you could hear the gravel shooting out of the coming up and out of the chute. So obviously not the best job, but I got a lot of it trimmed, but there were areas where I had it too high, and of course I wasn't catching any snow, and other areas where I was doing just fine, and a few areas of course where I shaved the driveway a little bit. Anyway, so far so that's good. So I'm going to take the other run back down to the house. I thought I'd give the snowblade a try as well, since she's on the back. I'm going to snowblade for a little bit first, see how that works out, and then I'm going to go back to the snowblower. Also, really nice feature, really happy I put the third function valve in. You probably noticed as I was coming up the driveway, as it winds and turns, the wind changes direction, so it's so easy to be able to adjust the chute either side to side or up and down as far as throwing the snow, because as you come around a bend, you end up with all the snow coming back at you. So that's pretty handy. I'm glad I spent that little extra money and got the third function valve. All right, so I'll turn you around. We're going to take a run up the driveway, probably to the first bend, using the snow blade on the back, and see how that works. Just finished my second run back down to the house. It was a great first run. I learned a lot, and obviously it's a bit of an art form managing those hydraulics to get just the right level on the front blower. I've got a lot to learn, but I didn't do too bad. I was able to shave pretty good in a few areas, picked up some gravel a few times, so obviously I got it a little bit better. Really pleased that I actually did not bust a single shear pin on my first run. I actually got a bag of them because I thought for sure I was going to. Really happy with the chute. Again, you're covered in snow because as you turn corners, the wind blows a different way, and you're just able to swing the chute around. So you'll also see I gave the snow blade a shot. I've got a lot to learn with that. You can tell at the very beginning I started digging up a lot of gravel because the ground's not totally hard yet. It's not frozen, and I don't quite have a base down yet. I think within the next couple of weeks at the latest, I'll get a good pack down, which will allow the runners on the snowplow, the skid shoes, to run over it a little bit smoother and lessen the number of times that I'm going to dig into the gravel. Snowblade worked in a few spots, but I noticed when I threw it to float, there's a crown obviously in the middle of the roadway, and it was catching a lot of gravel up at the beginning there. But what I did is I just positioned it up about to 2 or 3 on the dial, and I was able to at least scrape off a few inches of snow and carry it forward without digging up the gravel. I'm going to go up the road and play with it a little bit more, because I left a little snow on the ground in a few places, but certainly cleared out more than enough to get through with the truck. Thanks for hanging out with me this week and sticking around. I hope it was enjoyable, and I will see you again. Have a great week. Thanks.